Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Real World News TV with myself, Reggie Kearney, Sharon Tappet. And you know where she is. She's in New York. All you hear is sirens in the background.
Sorry. They heard me cussing. They're coming for me.
So that's what it is. And then from downtown, from the Flamingo Bar, or the Flamingo Lounge in Las Vegas, we got Tony Breedlove.
You keep making me sound like a stripper.
So what's up, everyone? How you doing this evening?
Everything's good. Everything's good. I'm just waiting to get into tonight's topic with you guys.
Yeah, which is the truth be told, our take on the Mueller investigation. As you know, 448 pages of toilet paper came out the other week. Okay, toilet tissue came out the other week. Okay,
that's the mega.
When you look at it, it is toilet tissue after Barr went through and redacted everything. You know, what else can you use it for? You know, we know what this president has done here in the country. Okay, we know, we see it every day. We hear it on the news, on the real news, not on the state-run station Fox. You know,
right?
We know what's going on, but when you look at the Mueller report, you would think this was an angel in the White House because they redacted so much stuff, you know, but we know differently. But if you look at the fine print of the Mueller report, you'll see there are issues there. And even though Barr hasn't gone as far as to say where he can be convicted of obstruction of justice, why would he leave a little tidbit in there? Okay, now Barr has gone off left field with what he's done. You know, he's lost a lot of respect in the community, especially in the Republican Party, because they know he's not their kind, but he was a shield for Trump because the Justice Department is there for prosecution, not to protect the President of the United States. It's not the President's personal lawyer. So, you know, I think the average Joe on the street is taking a lot from the report and saying, look, something needs to be done with him. You know, I heard a congresswoman the other night state that something needs to be done, even if it's no more than censoring him, because of the simple fact he screwed up. He knows he screwed up.
But how do you censor him? How do you censor somebody like that?
Cut off his thumbs and cut out his tongue.
Yeah.
There's an idea.
Take him out of the White House lawn, Todd Feather. You know, something needs to go on his record, okay? You know, I don't know if it's impeachment or the Congress censoring him. We know Congress can do it, but the Senate is not going to follow in the congressional way. But there are some Republican senators that might jump ship if they decide to censor him and not impeach him. What's your take on it, Sharon?
Well, I downloaded the report and I got as far as I think 140 pages. And, you know, after the 10th page, I was sold on obstruction. You know, the question what came to my mind was not did he do it, what didn't he try to prevent this investigation from going forward? You know, he tried to, you know, fire Mueller. He tried to convince McGahn to lie on a statement saying that Trump didn't try to strong arm him into firing Mueller. He, you know, I have a list here, but I'm not going to go into it. But there's so much that he did just in terms of obstruction, not even talking about the Russian meddling. That's a whole nother thing. I didn't think they redacted as much as I expected, honestly. There are some key components in here that they did redact, and a lot of it says HOM, harm to ongoing matters. So that suggests to me that potentially there's some still investigations going on, or if it goes over to Congress and they continue the investigation. Because I saw in a number of places he didn't say, you know, pardon my French, I'm going to channel my inner Tony here, but Mueller was a bit of a pussy. I'm sorry, I said it. I said it, you know, because when I worked in government, if there was even the suggestion of impropriety, if there was the suggestion that I had a relationship with somebody that was inappropriate, or I accepted a cup of coffee or stick of gum, anything along those lines, had lunch with somebody, I could have been fired, all right, or worse. And there's so much evidence, and I'm surprised it wasn't redacted, about multiple members of his campaign, aside from those who actually got arrested, having lunch with, meeting with ambassadors, meeting with business folks. And as we were talking before the show, successful businessmen and women in Russia do not get successful by themselves in totality. They've got to have support from Putin. You can't do shit in Russia without support from Putin and his administration, if you want to call it an administration or his dictatorship. So, I mean, Putin is clearly a very intelligent person. I don't have to like him at all, but he's clearly intelligent.
But you call it what it is.
And
right.
he knows how to work our system. He sent all of these people over here. Trump made, and I think early within the first 10 pages of the report, Mueller said something like, unable to determine Trump's motives. Give me a fucking break.
Are you kidding me? I haven't read it yet.
He could have advertised his motives more on a daily basis on the news and Twitter and Facebook. He made it very clear what his motives were.
But in Mueller's defense, it's all about legality. You got to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this is what his intentions are.
He invited Russia to meddle in here. What more proof do you need?
This is the thing. We as laymen looking on the outside, looking in, we can say this, okay? But if you're going to prosecute somebody, you can't or impeach him. You can't carry him up there to court or try to impeach him on what you think.
No, I understand that. I do. But like I said in my prior statement, just the appearance alone. If Obama had one instance, if one page of this report were associated with Obama, they would have been screaming impeachment. Look, they wanted to impeach him after he wore a tan suit, for God's sakes.
That's what I was going to
say. As much as we want to be able to compare the Obama administration with the Trump administration, I think we're at a point now where we're beating a dead horse when we continue to say, if this had been Obama. We know that if it had been Obama, we just have to address the fact that this is a Trump organization that is clearly
corrupt as hell.
It's clearly corrupt. We knew that the Obama administration was not.
Yeah.
They may have made some side mistakes or whatever we want to call it. However, it is not anywhere near the corruption that we see blatantly from the Trump administration.
The report.
We just need to stand alone and talk about the Trump administration and stop even doing the comparison because it doesn't stand up.
If it could have been Clinton, it could have been Obama, it could have been Ford, it could have been. It doesn't matter. But
it could have been Reagan, it could have been Bush, it could have been. You didn't see this, and I don't care what administration we've had thus far,
with the exception of Bush Sr. selling. But he wasn't president at the time. He was with the CIA when he sold weapons to the Middle East, which were later used against us. But this is just Cohen is having discussions with representatives from Russia, clearly stating, and the Russian person clearly stating that endorsement from Putin will help Trump's campaign. Cohen clearly stating before he won the nomination, before he elected, that this would basically amount to a ongoing infomercial for Trump's brand, so making it clear that there was an intent to monetize the presidency. Like this, the whole thing is ridiculous, and I just don't understand. And like you and I were talking about at the beginning of the show, I don't know what the hell Barr was reading, but it wasn't the same report I'm reading.
Well, of course, it's not going to be the same thing that you were reading or anybody else who have downloaded the report has read, because it was not the intention of Barr to tell the American people or to report back as he had received this report. He didn't have any intention on reporting what was there. Okay, he just did not. Now, I think when we were anxious about getting the conclusion of this report, I think we were all thinking that it was going to be going straight to Congress. That's what we thought. Okay, we didn't think that, and even if we thought it was going to the AG, we still didn't think that it would be this level of cover-up. Okay, we just didn't think about it. But what we should have thought, and like we had known or saw when they were confirming Barr, is that this kind of thing was going to happen somewhere down the line. We just didn't realize or think that it was going to happen when we talk about the Mueller report, because it was such a serious investigation. So that's, if that makes sense.
Well, it was a serious investigation. I'm surprised. I mean, you all say y'all surprised. I'm surprised that they didn't throw it in the trash can and just walk away from it. My honest opinion. And if Trump could have got away with the controversy behind it, not showing none of it, he wouldn't have done it.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think the only reason he did it was to keep the public in line, because there would have been an outcry for his head if he had thrown it away. But
Well,
I really think he wanted to put it in the shredder and shred it up.
there's still enough of government, fortunately, that I guess supports the Constitution and our separation of powers and whatnot, that would not have allowed that to happen. This would have come out eventually. What I like about this, though, is that this is now a part of history. So no matter what happens, God forbid it gets worse, all of this nonsense, I mean, this is going to be in the history books. This is going to be studied intimately, this document. You know, he will not get away with it. I mean, he might end his his presidency, but you know, this will forever be associated with him. You know, unless the right wins and they, you know, do massive rewrite of all history books and whatnot. But this is forever part of the historical record, and I'm happy about that. But it's really disgusting.
And I'm kind of glad that you even said that, because then what does this tell our children who are coming up and they are reading history? Necessarily not even having to read it in a book, they're living through it. What is this?
You can lie and scheme your way through life.
Yep, as long as you don't get caught.
Yeah,
and, you know, and he says, and I forget at what point, you know, but that the investigation was there was a handicap in the investigation because they found proof that many of the people being investigated deleted records, deleted correspondence. They were using an encrypted system. Now, you're going to give Hillary shit over using Gmail, and supposedly no really classified information was exchanged there, but you're not going to give him a problem for allowing his staff to use encrypted messaging, whether during the campaign or otherwise. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Like, when did we, and I'm looking at the number of people involved in his campaign who worked in the, you know, prior to the campaign, worked in the Ukraine, studied Russian politics, worked in Russia. When did Republicans, or when did the right or conservatives or evangelicals or whoever you want to call them develop this love of Russia? I mean, when you and I were growing up, you know, Russia was the enemy for the longest time. Like, when did this happen? I don't understand it.
Well, I think it's not so much of a love of Russia. I think basically it's a love of Trump. For some strange reason, he's hanging their underwear out to dry, and they just love walking around with butt naked, with their butts being naked. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, Trump has got these folks mesmerized.
Right. We lost Shara.
Yeah. And I just can't figure it out, you know.
But it's like anything else. We call it being mesmerized. Mm-hmm. This is their white hope.
Yeah, you're right about that.
This is their white hope, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. This is what we were waiting on.
You can see how racism is showing its ugly face now, that it's all because of what he does as far as his support of white nationalism. Mm-hmm. You look at the recent election in Israel, you see them guys with them Jews with the little beanies on top of the beanie got Trump written on, wearing red beanies with Trump's name on it. You know,
right.
And, you know, so but you got to look at Israel as a racist country anyway, because of some of the fact the way they treat people from Africa. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so they have a lot of racism going on over there. You know,
yeah, I don't know, but you know, right now, although you know, I sympathize with other countries and the difficulties they're having with their own government, I do. I sympathize with all of that. I'm more concerned and concentrated on what is going on here, because if not careful, we will be just like those other countries under dictatorship. And feeling the pains of not having a voice and not having the freedom that we are used to having. So,
well, I think we'll always have the freedom. We're just not going to have the voice, because until you get Trump out of there, you don't have a voice, because the House can pass a bill that's positive for the United States, and then the Senate can not pass it. So the bill never comes to fruition, okay? Because you got one party that's going to support the president all the time. You got another party that's going to do what's the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing now, they're already painting the scenario for the 2020 election to paint Democrats as being boogeymen, okay? That's what that's what they're doing. That's the scenario they're pushing. You know, what is wrong with the new Green Deal, okay?
I was trying to figure that out. What is wrong with it?
They just did a new Channel 4 here in DC just did a report on Monday night on the face of climate change here in Washington right now with the tidal basin flooding more than it ever had with high tides, and said it could be a detriment to the cherry blossoms because it's taking the dirt off of it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They even said probably in 100 years, Lower Manhattan is going to be lowered, okay, into the Hudson River. You know, so climate change is for real. But what's wrong with having a new Green Deal in order to try not to destroy this world in the next 100 years?
Yeah.
Because corporations don't care. Look at what they're letting Nestle do in California. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about sucking up all the natural resources. They don't care about poisoning our waters. They don't care. It's about the ultimate dollar for them.
Yeah, but the sad part is that they're part of this world.
Yeah,
they don't care about their own children, grandchildren.
It's all
That's
about
why people thinks that they have an exit plan. Because they
don't have an exit plan.
I know that. But every once in a while,
couldn't even come up with a secondary plan on health care.
You know, every once in a while,
how would they think that they could come up with a plan to exit this world?
They have to drink the same water. They have to breathe the same air. Their willingness to poison the planet to this regard, to this extent, do they have that little regard for their own lives and the lives of their children and their grandchildren, like you say?
Obvious.
It makes no sense, you know, because their greed and their sense of self-preservation is so intense. They must think they have an alternative at the end of the road. It makes no sense
what it is.
It's funny, you know, that it's all about the money, for the love of money. They're willing to destroy this planet for the love of money.
So let me get back to the Mueller report and this administration. So I think before we came online, we were talking, and we were talking about the issues of impeachment as well. Or did I do that in the promo? I can't remember. But the issues of impeachment right now is split down the middle when we talk about the Democratic Party. You know, now that they have gained some control back, and Pelosi in the beginning was on the Aunt Maxine tip about impeachment, but now she's changed her story. What do you think?
Well, I think they're going middle of the road right now, because you've got to, if you're going to impeach him, you got to have your ducks lined up in a row, okay? And the people, when they do the poll, I'm looking at a poll on MSNBC this morning, and I don't know who they polled, but the majority of Americans don't want to see impeachment right now because we're so close to the election. Their whole thing is let the election put them out of office. Okay. And I mean, really, what can you accomplish other than putting a stain on his presidency by impeaching him at this late of a term? Well, I think the problem that happened, the Mueller report, his investigation went too long. Okay, now if his investigation had lasted the first year, then going into the second year, they probably could have jumped all over it. Okay, the problem is now, if you, in my opinion, if you shoot for impeachment now and you're not successful, then the Democrats might lose Congress again. Okay, those red seats that they won might get taken back because people are going to be so teed off that they went after the president. Most Americans, a lot of Americans just don't have a taste for impeachment, and they know he's wrong, but they just don't have that taste for it. You know, but I think what happened, you got the younger progressive wing of the Democratic Party is really pushing for impeachment right now.
Yeah.
And, but again, Pelosi controls the House and what goes to the floor. So that's the only thing. That's the only reason it's not going to come up. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But I've been listening a lot about whether to impeach or, or not. At first, I was all for impeachment, but not until I, started listening and taking a closer view at what a lot of these politicians of the Dems were saying that are opposing it, did I change my mind. And I understood why it would not be the best move for us right now, because it doesn't mean he would leave office. It could be the case that in Clinton, he stayed in office. The only thing that got Nixon out is that he resigned and he was afraid of being impeached. So, would that necessarily be a good move? To me, I don't think it would be at this point. And I've changed my mind, So, sorry, I jumped. I had my phone ring in my ear.
Yeah. But, yeah, so it's a touchy situation out there right now with impeachment.
I'm of mixed minds.
So Derek is.
I'm of mixed minds. Everybody says that then we'd be stuck with Pence and I don't think Pence could win an election. So we would only be stuck with him for remaining of Trump's term if we were able to impeach him immediately. But I worry about the damage that he's doing to our country. And Trump, and his administration and Steve Miller and all of these cronies. It's disgusting. It's very scary because he's had an extremely negative impact on the country.
Yeah.
Well, if you decided to impeach Trump, what would you impeach him on? It's got to be something that you're going to make him pack up his bag in the middle of the night and leave the White House. And that's the whole thing. You look at Clinton. Clinton kept saying, I never had sex with him. I never had sex with him. We never did a sexual act. And then when the impeachment was over with, his approval rating went up to 60%. And that's another thing they're afraid of. If you impeach Trump, his approval rating might go up into the stratosphere, and people might feel sorry for him that got impeached and really get behind him.
Yeah. I'm going to kill Sharon. I'm going to kill her.
Yeah. So
the computer was killing me.
Have to deal with, But the thing is, too, if he loses his race, which we are hoping and praying that he does, he still can get charged. He can be, after he gets back to New York, trying to walk into the Trump Towers, he can get handcuffed. Okay.
Right.
He can get served with paper. So it's not over with. In his little small mind, he feels like it's completely over with, but it's not.
He's going to try.
Somewhere down the road, he's going to pay for everything that's going on in his presidency.
Yeah, he'd leave the country before he got arrested and went to jail.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he leave the country if he loses and move to Russia. It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me.
You think he would be up and out? He wouldn't.
I think he would. If he thought he gonna get yanked into an orange uniform, he will.
I think he'd still be too much of a coward to go to Russia and deal with Putin. He's a fucking coward.
Well, yeah, he is, and Putin will have no use for him then.
Yeah.
He's a coward.
Yeah, so, the jury is out, but, I want to see Congress do some meaningful work. Okay, I know we got to concentrate on the Mueller report, too, but I want to see some meaningful work get done in Congress, and we haven't had nothing meaningful has been done since Obamacare was passed.
Yeah.
You've had little small bills here and there that help the country pass my bipartisan. Little small bills that if you're not listening to the news, you don't even know what they are.
Right.
Meaningful has come out of none of this political process from the Congress or the Senate.
Right.
The only people he's helped are the supremacists in this country that now have this air of permissibility to act out. There were articles just the other day about white nationalist militia, aiding in border control, and holding people hostage, which they have no legal jurisdiction to do. And then, of course, I made this comment to somebody online the other day, and I said, it's no wonder we've got so many unmarked graves by the border. And he's like, oh, well, that's just the coyotes. I'm like, no, child, the coyotes might do so, but no, they want to make their money. So I don't think that they would probably kill half as many people before they cross the border, in the heart of Mexico, as much as border control and these militia would. It's like they're acting like it's hunting season, rabbit season, hunting. It's just like they have no business there, but Trump isn't going to stop them. So the administration is allowing this militarization of the militia and the police force, anti-people of color, anti-LGBT, anti-women, now, certain states wanting to pass laws to, give the death penalty to women who have abortions. That's what he's doing. That's what he's successfully doing in this country.
But you got to understand, the states that are passing those laws are conservative states.
They're passing that because they know the federal government now is under an administration that will let that abide.
That won't oppose it.
But the thing is, even if you try to oppose it in a red state, you're not going to get the Supreme Court is stacked with conservatives. So if your case were to go all the way to, if someone who was against the abortion bills took the case to the Supreme Court, got all the way to the Supreme Court, they're going to lose. Okay, so it's a fact because the Supreme Court is stacked in Trump's favor now, and that's what like I said earlier before we got started, the Republicans are trying to make this an ultra conservative country. That's what they're setting out to do. Whatever it takes to get their agenda in place to last until the end of time, that's what they're trying to do. Stack the Supreme Court, stack the federal benches. They're trying to do stuff to keep their laws in place.
So I'm going to read this comment from Derek. Derek is off the show tonight. He's having an allergic reaction to something, but I call it the cooties. Derek has the cooties. So he's actually sitting in and he's listening and watching the show and he's commenting a book. So his last comment, he says, the House will have enough votes, but the Senate will not. It really comes down to just a public reprimand and humiliation. So why not just focus on getting the work done? I want to see Congress do some meaningful work, as Brother Reggie Kearney stated. And the report is the report and always going to be open to interpretation until the full report is accessible to the general public. Some may 20 to 30 years from now.
And he's correct. And Trump would be dead and buried in the what they call a landfill. He's buried in the landfill.
Down at the county dump.
I hope I can last out for 30 years because I want to see the whole report. So I hope I can make it that long because eventually the whole report will come out, but it won't mean anything because Trump be going. And talking about that, I saw a picture on somebody posted on Facebook of Jesus and Trump walking hand in hand, and Jesus said, "No, you got it twisted. I'm walking him to hell." Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. So in like 20 to 30 years, because of the Freedom of Information Act, you'll be able to see a report that's not redacted, and you'll see, yeah, he should have been impeached easily.
Yeah.
So we can't see the redacted portions, and that's the whole problem. Now he's saying he's going to allow certain members of Congress, probably to be all Republicans, read the report with the grand jury stuff being the only redacted parts. But someone out there from the Mueller investigation has that full report.
I want somebody to leak.
And that's what I'm waiting for.
Because it's going to get leaked.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Well, if I had $1 million, I would pay for that report right now.
Would you really?
I'd hurt you if you spent $1 million on that report.
There's
a better place to spend that money.
I want to see the whole thing because somebody has that report. Somebody on the Mueller investigation has a report at home underneath that mattress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you had that report under scrupulous measure, and you just got your hands on it by one of those, crappy people in the administration that wanted to bury Trump, how would you bury him?
Well, here's the thing, though. If you read the information that's currently redacted, you may come to your own conclusion that you're best served, or the country's best served, till waiting until the additional investigations take place or Congress takes action, because of those redacted parts that said, harm to ongoing matters. Now, I'm hoping that means the open door for ongoing investigations via Congress, as opposed to whatever BS they're trying to hide. So
what does it matter at this point? In a lot of ways, what would matter even if we receive the unredacted version?
I'd rather him go to jail than be impeached. That's what matters. If the redacted parts made it clear that the results of that research, if there were additional investigation going on, proved without a shadow of a doubt that that man should be in jail, then I would sit on that gladly, because I would love to see him in jail.
Yeah, but it already has been stated that special counsel does not believe, or they're trying to follow the rule of law that says that a sitting president cannot be indicted.
But I don't know, is that a rule or is this out of practice? Because that's never been clear to me.
You know what?
I know that Barr's trying to sell that. I know Barr has been trying to sell that for a while, but I don't know
Mueller
that
had made that. Well, from what I'm understanding, and maybe you haven't gotten to that part yet, because I'm not sure if the summaries are included in that report.
Let's see here.
But is it said in the summaries that indicates that a sitting president cannot be indicted? Because then what's the point while he's in office? You don't want to be there.
Yeah, but Mueller also said that no person is above the law, including the president.
He said that. Yes.
Yeah, I think I think what they're looking at when they say that is, if you indict the president of the United States, what condition are you going to put this country in? Trying to indict him while he's still in office. Okay.
It depends on what he's being indicted for. It depends on what he's being indicted for. If it's high treason, then we are more at risk with him staying in office.
But you got to remove him out of office. Okay, you just can't walk in the White House and say, Trump, we got a warrant for your arrest, and pull him out of the White House. Okay, you got to, so they don't want to walk down that road, because this country. Let me tell you something. You will see them redneck whites riding up into the White House with their trucks and guns, trying to protect them, trying to take over Washington if something like that happens. And we know it would happen, okay? So the thing is, what basket do you put your eggs in when it comes to him?
And let me just read something from the report. It says, the concerns about the fairness of such a determination would be heightened in the case of a sitting president, where federal prosecutors' accusation of a crime, even in an internal report, could carry consequences that extend beyond the realm of criminal justice. OLC noted similar concerns about sealed indictments. Even if an indictment were sealed during the president's term, he reasoned it would be very difficult to preserve an indictment secrecy, which I don't see that's not true, because Trump has been maintaining secrecy this whole time.
Exactly.
And if an indictment became public, the stigma would imperil the president's ability to govern. Although a prosecutor's internal report would not represent a formal public accusation akin to an indictment, the possibility of the report's public disclosure in absence of a neutral adjudicatory forum to review its findings counseled against potentially determining that the person's conduct constitutes a federal offense. So I think that they're worried about I don't know that it's law that you can't indict a sitting president, but I see your point, and they would need to make damn sure that they would win that case.
Yeah.
So I get that. And maybe that's why, the portions that are redacted because they're still gathering their breadcrumbs and their pieces of evidence. But honestly, the rest of this report, I just don't see how they can say or accept the notion that he's claiming I didn't know, when literally everyone in his circle, including his sons, if they pimped Brandon out to follow up on this, it wouldn't surprise me. Right. Everybody in his circle was in bed with Russia. Yeah.
And the thing was, he knew if he had answered, see, his lawyers prepared those answers for him, because they knew if they allowed Trump to have a in-person interview, he would have definitely screwed up. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
he can't think on his feet. He can't think and eat gum at the same time. So he would have screwed it up. And that's why he gave the answers that he did. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, like a little fifth grader, okay? Like a little kid who's done something, that stuck a hand in the cookie jar and got caught. You know, so, I mean, he knows what he's done. The Republicans know what he's done. We know what he's done. It's just trying to stick it to him to make sure he spends his remaining years of life in prison. And that's why I say I think he'll go to Russia. He's going to go somewhere. He's not going to stay in the country. Because he's
take his gilded toilet with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know what country would accept his ass.
Yeah. Argentina takes everyone.
Oh, yeah. And see, I think something else is going to happen to him, too. He owes banks a lot of money. And I see the banks calling in their markers after he comes out of office.
Oh, boy. What a day.
He's going to be buried either in the landfill or the potter's grave.
With Hoffa.
Because when they finish with him, I really think his financial empire, what's left of it, is going to fall.
But is there a financial empire? How do we know?
No, he's only paper. He doesn't have $2 in the checking account. He's a paper.
No, he doesn't. That's why he is refusing to give up his tax return. Because it's going to show that he's a freaking fraud.
Yeah.
Now, I think he's got money, just nowhere near as much as he claims. But I think the tax returns are going to show that he's got money in the Cayman Islands, that he's got money from Russia, that he's, lying on his taxes. I mean, look, Jared lied, with respect to his apartment building and trying to kick out all these people and make condos and co-ops. His daughter lied and claimed designs that were other people's designs.
His wife lied.
They family lies. They all lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is the thing. What use is he to any of these banks or to Putin after he comes out of office?
What did you say? I didn't hear you. What
use is he to Putin or any of these banks after he comes out of office?
I think that some of his currency is dirt on the people that are in the administration. Yeah. And so he might be able to sell some of that dirt. Because that's the only way I can see to Russia or anybody else who's interested in buying it to further impact our government and our democratic process.
He got dirt on him already. He got that P tape. And I think that's a real tape. I think that video was real.
Do you think so?
Yeah, but that's not enough to get him impeached or arrested, unless it was done by a 12-year-old.
Nothing embarrassing.
Yeah.
But who would care? His base would cheer him on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They would cheer him on.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
They didn't see nothing wrong with his wife taking nude pictures with another woman. A first lady hoe.
The stripper, the saga.
But you know what? In defense of Melania, I do think that she's way more intelligent than Trump. I don't support the path she took. I don't support the path she took in life, but she speaks multiple languages. I think she's actually quite intelligent, and I'm sorry that she didn't get out before he ran for the nomination, because I know people from that circle who claim that their son went to school with Brandon, yada yada, and that she was actually getting ready to file for divorce before he decided to run for election. So he probably threw in a few more dollars for her to stay around, which is why you don't see that much love between the two of them. But I wish that she could use her platform to speak for women, for abused women, for trafficked women, for whatever.
How is she going to speak for abused women when I truly believe that she's being abused?
Yeah,
I truly do.
And what about
that she is being emotionally, and maybe even physically, and sometimes even just he's got something just. It's mental.
It's mental abuse. It is disgusting. It's mental abuse because he sits there and look at TV all day long. He ain't paying attention to it. I'm gonna tell you, but I saw another picture on Facebook. Somebody said she was messing with one of the Secret Service agents.
Could be.
Because some fact he doesn't pay no attention because he's fixated on looking at the news and see what the news is saying about him.
She should be grateful for that. I wouldn't want his attention.
I would too. I wouldn't want his grimy little sausage hands on me. Ew.
Yeah. But I wonder what Mueller is going to say when he comes before Congress.
I'm waiting.
I don't think we'll know no more than what we know in the report now.
I don't know. I think that he would give us something to. I think that he would not be able to tell us plainly, but I think that he would give us things that were implied that we could draw a conclusion.
I would like to see him come as a citizen and not as framed as a lawyer.
Well, yeah, because
he's still bound. He's still bound.
He's still bound by the law, by the government.
Who's gonna put him in jail?
I don't know.
Barr should be disbarred. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. We gotta wait and see.
Who's gonna put him in jail? Nobody's gonna put him in jail, so he can speak freely. And what are they gonna do?
Well, he can only. I don't think he could speak freely. I really don't believe that he would be able to speak freely. We would hope, but when we talk about the information coming from off the grand jury, things of that nature, still you've got, like Chair said, you still have ongoing investigations. Those things would impede these investigations. So he can't speak freely. He's still bound by government.
All the investigations have gone quiet since this report was given to Barr, because I haven't heard nothing on the Penguin lately.
Penguin lady? Who's that?
What's the guy that look like a penguin? Roger Stone.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard anything about him lately.
Where's all the dirt that Omarosa had?
That's what I want to know.
Oh, she's just trying to make some.
It was bullshit. It was bullshit.
Yeah. She was trying to get invited to the cookout this summer. That's all that was. Trying to get her black card back.
He probably paid her off.
She'll never get her black card back.
Yeah, if the walls of the Oval Office could talk.
Oh.
You probably hear her.
You're going to have that place sandblasted once
you probably
he leaves the White House.
Hear the Oval Office moaning and groaning. But
so have anybody heard when? Because I know they were talking about having Mueller talk to Congress. Has anybody heard anything? Have they said, a possible date? Given any implication as to when, this could happen?
No, I haven't heard. I know they want it soon. I know they want it sooner than later.
Brooks. Well, I'm hoping it's soon, because I am going to pop me some popcorn, pour me some wine, then I'm going to pour a backup glass of Jack Daniels, and I'm going to sit there and I am going to love on some TV.
Oh my gosh. Stephen gets so annoyed sometimes when I'm watching, because I talk back to the TV and I'm like, that's bullshit. Stop lying. Da, 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 da. And he's just looking at me, because he watches soccer and gets all excited and sucks his teeth and whatnot. Soccer game, watching politics. That's my sports. But this last 2 years has been rough. I'm psychically exhausted watching all the shit that's going on.
Well, just hold tight, Miss Chair Tappan, because 2020 is on our heels, and you've got probably about 900 candidates running. and I think with all these folks running, that's just screwing shit up.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. I'm not sure what people are thinking, but we are getting deeper and deeper into a hole that we will not be able to dig ourselves out of.
And that's why Trump's going to get reelected, because the Democratic Party.
Oh, don't say that.
You might well face the fact, get used to it, because the Democratic Party is too split up right now. Because what's going to happen, Bernie's people are not going to vote again, because if Bernie don't get the election, even though the numbers will be out of the show, he's not the nominee, they're still not going to vote. And that's what happened with Hillary. Even though Hillary did get the popular vote, still a lot of Bernie people didn't vote.
So let me ask you guys this. Say, for instance,
don't say it.
Okay, so say, for instance, it goes in the direction that Reggie was saying, right?
Voldemort wins, right?
Can you guys bring me up to speed on the statute of, because we know that Trump is being investigated under the Southern District of New York, right? So do statutes of limitation run out?
I think it depends on the crime.
Huh?
I think it depends on the crime. I mean, if he gets reelected, no, a crime is still a crime. And in terms of how far the statute of limitation goes, I think it depends on the crime.
You know, and I think, you know, white collar crimes might have a little leeway on them. You know, because everything, you know, everything he's going to get convicted is white collar crime. And then something else you got to look at too. Can you take this information from this 4-year term into the next 4-year term?
Into the next, yeah.
Unless it's treason. Unless they find out, look, he was meeting with Russian policy advisors before he even won the nomination, which he had no business doing, making promises, probably behind closed doors, on what he would or wouldn't do. And the report even says that, well, even though they can't necessarily prove or disprove collusion between the two groups, Russians knew they would benefit from Trump being in office, and the Trump campaign knew they would benefit from the IRA and Russia's involvement in, you know, our democratic process. So here you've got two groups who supposedly have nothing to do with each other, but they knew they were going to benefit from each other's actions. You know, so he probably made deals with them, you know, and I think even in the report, there were sections where people were dialoguing about what language to use in amendments, you know, about nuclear arms and blah, blah, blah. So it is also possible, if they can get more evidence, that they can prove some kind of treasonous exchange of information.
But see, what you just said right now, Jared, with him having dealings with Russian individuals,
operatives, we'll say.
Operatives, okay, with him having those dealings, that is collusion right there.
That's why I don't understand this report.
So I don't understand what their definition is of collusion
or evidence. Because they've got proof of correspondence, they've got proof of phone calls, they've got proof of multiple visits back and forth to St. Petersburg and Moscow.
And how can you not say it is not collusion?
That's why it just doesn't make sense to me. It makes no
I'm
sense.
Read it.
That's why I said Mueller has no.
But the thing is, I'm playing devil's advocate. What's wrong with telling the Russians you're going to pull out the Paris Treaty, climate control?
What's wrong he was with a citizen. He had no business doing policy discussions.
What's wrong with him telling that, look, we're going to kill the nuclear agreement, the treaties? Okay? You know, that doesn't, you know, again, we've got to get him on something that rises to treason.
It incentivizes Russia's involvement in hacking our election.
It didn't incentivize Russia for nothing. You know why Russia wanted to get Trump in there? First, they knew they had the intelligence of a pea. Okay, they knew that. Okay. They're trying to get world dominance. Okay, they know having Trump in office, they can march around the world and do what they want to do.
Precisely.
They didn't want Hillary in office because Hillary would have held their feet to the fire.
She would have gave him some hell, though.
Yeah,
she would have given him hell.
Trump, because of his business dealings and in that P tape, he wasn't going to do anything but let everything slide. That's what he's done. He's turned his head the other way. Every once in a while, he'll come out and threaten Russia. For what? It's a shallow threat.
He doesn't care about America. He cares about his brand. And when you read the report and you read some of the communication exchanges between Cohen and Russian operatives and other people in his campaign, it is obvious where their focus was. So yeah, tit for tat. I will reduce sanctions and I will do X, Y, and Z for you. You know, and this will be good for my brand. I'll win the election. I'll get my hotel built, yada, yada. Nothing in there was about protecting American interests, to protecting democracy, respect of the office, none of that. So you know, if a layperson can see the obvious motive in reading the evidence and the documentation that they provided in the report, what would have been helpful in the report is if Mueller explained why after 100 pages, 300 pages of dialogue, none of that was evidentiary. None of that was proof enough, weighty enough to result in any further legal action against him or more people in his campaign? That's what I don't understand.
Well, probably because the people who got indicted took the fall for anything that Trump might have did. You know, they're not going to talk against Trump. You know, they're willing, because all these guys got light sentences other than the other knucklehead.
Well, I think Cohen is still talking because some of the sections were redacted.
Yeah, but what you call trying to get a presidential pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, what's his face?
Like Papadopoulos or
no, the last one.
He's
still in jail. Not Stone, the other one. I can't even think of his name now.
Let's see here. I have it here.
That's what I say. All these guys have gone out of
Manafort.
Manafort, yeah. Since the investigation has been over with, everything has gone silent. You know, now I heard, you know, read through some articles that before this report came out, that Barr and Mueller had a falling out about something. And I think Barr went to him and told him, look, you need to wrap this thing up now, and it needs to be wrapped up, or I am going to pull the plug on it. And I think that's why I think all of a sudden you saw the report come out. You know, Fox News knew in advance that the report was coming out. Even though they got the date wrong, they knew it was coming out.
Yeah, because they had the reporters camped outside.
Something happened between Mueller and Barr after Barr was sworn in as AG. No, because he had that power. You know, but it's up to the New Yorker, the New York State's attorney, to put him behind bars. That's where it's going to start there.
And I agree with what Derek says. You know, this is all going to cost several millions of dollars, and we need to start the process and get the real work done. I agree. The problem I have is how much active damage is being done to the country as we speak. And, you know, we can't put a tourniquet on it. We can't stem the tide. We can all we seem to be able to do is sit back and watch more of this nonsense going on. And every day I think to myself, what group is next? What shoe is going to drop next? What right are we going to lose next? With Steve Miller now whispering sweet nothings in his ear and having even more of an impact on the immigration process, you know, it reminds me of too many dystopian books I've read. You know, there is a distinct anti-people of color movement going on in America and all sorts of countries across the globe.
But
that man is the devil.
But Sharon, what you have to remember, we are very intelligent, aggressive people now, okay? And what we saw in the 50s and 60s and 40s was the awakening, okay? We are awoke now. And then Steve Miller can talk all he wants to talk. But somebody like Steve Miller, they started trying to put blacks out of this country, trying to put people out of this country. It's more of us than it is them white rednecks that want to try to maintain their European heritage here in America, okay?
But they've already started.
But the thing, let me tell you something. It's not going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen. We are different people now, okay? And if we had to take the ballot to the streets, the ballot will be played in the streets. And as Malcolm X said, the revolution will be televised the next time, okay? All right. Now, these little rednecks running around here and think they're trying to go own America. They ain't not that crazy, okay? Like I always say, bring your little butts over to Southeast and Northeast D.C. with some of that rhetoric you got and ride through there with your little rebel flag and your little Trump hat on. You're going to wish you hadn't came up in the neighborhood. Okay? You know, we can get arms ourselves, okay? All right.
But you're talking about the militia. You're talking about these white Aryan groups. I'm thinking about the militarization of the police, the people who do this with supposed law on their side.
They already militarized every city.
Exactly. But they haven't been completely unloaded and freed to act out. I mean, look, we all know that they've been infiltrated by nationalists. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, but it could be so much worse.
My theory is every time a black man gets killed by a honky cop, okay, that person is representing the white supremacist groups, okay? It might not never come out in court, but I'm pretty sure if you research the food long enough, you'll probably find his ties. They just fired 2 law enforcement people down in Virginia for being part of white supremacist groups. It is
2 out of
a lot of
many.
information to get on Facebook, okay?
Two
with
out
the
of how
organization
many?
to the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's out there. Okay. But I feel like every time a young black man gets shot in the back, that's from an aggressive, racist, supremacist cop. Okay. Who's pushing the scenario that David Dukes has said, we're not going to wear our Klan robes now. We're going to wear police uniforms, army uniforms, medical uniforms. That's going to be our MO now.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they can get an opportunity to take out a man of color, a black man, they do it. And that's my theory, okay? And I'm sticking with it.
All right, then.
Okay? So it's already being done, okay? But let the new Black Panther Party come back to fruition. They'll set their butts down the corner and shut up. They don't want a confrontation with Black America. But this rhetoric is always going to be around. It's just that Trump has given them the go ahead to say what they want to say, and he backs it up.
Yeah.
And if he wins another term,
oh, it's going to be a war.
Mm.
And this is the thing. Notre Dame burned down.
You're driving me to smoke.
Burned down, and the United States said, we're going to send you money, okay? Three black churches get burned in Louisiana, and the president never acknowledges it, okay?
Yeah.
Because the kid who did it was a racist. His father was a sheriff, deputy sheriff, I believe, and the kid was a racist. But if he had come down on this kid, his little base would have got upset. But they have managed to raise about $1.5 million from a GoFundMe account.
Yeah.
Okay. I think somebody, Philadelphia owner or one of the football owners gave $100,000 to the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
So that's insane. That's insanity.
Every time something happens here in America, he doesn't comment on it. But let something happen in another country, oh, his comment city on it. You know.
And they didn't even, France didn't even respect his comment because he was an idiot.
Yeah. Because he said what they should have done, they should use air tankers to pour water on the church, and that which would have destroyed it naturally because of the heavy rain, water. It would have destroyed it, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did it in the White House.
Great. I look forward to the night that I'm uplifted by the time we get off this show. Sometimes it just makes me depressed as hell.
Yeah.
I think I get that video. You know, but I think in the long run, we got to just suffer through this whole scenario. I think at the end of the day, we're going to be all right. It's just we're going through a suffering point right now. I mean, gasoline is going to continue to go up. I mean, because he putting the screws to Iran now, even though they say Iran only doing about 2.7 million barrels a day, which is a blip. You know, but you got Venezuela can't ship oil, which they are shipping with ghost tankers. You got Iran's going to turn to ghost tankers, but we won't know, and the price is going to continue to go up. This is the stuff that idiots should be working on, trying to keep gas prices low.
Instead of tweeting.
But no, they're doing everything they can to look. They're impacting our benefits, right? They're impacting Medicaid. They're talking about changing the laws with respect to who's entitled to overtime. They're making it more expensive to get gas. They're doing everything economically to keep us down. And my concern is it's going to get so bad for the average citizen that we won't have the wherewithal to fight back because we'll be too busy struggling to survive, to put food on our table, to keep a roof over our head. That's what worries me.
Well, that doesn't worry me. Okay, what worries me is the people in the inner city, the poor people in the inner city, are never going to be able to get out of the inner city because of some effect benefits such as EBT and things are going to be cut back. When we know the majority of people on EBT and welfare subsidies are white. You know, because
for those
think about it, if you have a decent job and you middle class and you have benefits, insurance benefits, you all right, okay? But if you look at the other percentage of people where they're trying to kill the insurance, okay? Those are the people I worry about. I don't worry about myself and people that are making money. I worry about the people who don't have good jobs and don't have benefits. Like you said, if they don't have insurance, they can't get the care that I can get, okay? because he's trying to kill. Instead of him just leaving Obamacare alone, it does need to be tweaked. Okay, I agree, tweak it, but don't get rid of it. Some people need that insurance. And that's what
his focus is getting the boot on our neck. That's their focus.
Yeah, but
and we'll be so busy struggling to survive, we won't be able to fight back.
Not on your neck. It's on the backs of the lower income, inner city people, the immigrants that come in the country. That's who is hurting. Okay, we're gonna be all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, we might end up paying more in taxes, but we're gonna be all right because we got decent jobs that are gonna get us through with our benefits. It's that other low percentage, the other 20 or 30% of Americans that are struggling. Okay, and see these little white folks on welfare need to wake up and realize it's hurting them too. When they talking about getting rid of Obamacare, I mean they already own affordable care. They don't know the difference between the two. They need to wake up because they're gonna be sitting in Kentucky and West Virginia with a piece of bread on the table and a bottle of water.
Tony, can you still see me?
I can see you.
Okay, because my computer just shut off, so I wasn't sure which system you're using.
Okay, time to go.
Yeah, there goes that uplifting final comment again.
All right.
Wait 30 years.
At least you kept the matches out of today's discussion.
Oh, matches? I'm going to go to a third world country.
There you go.
And buy me a nuclear weapon and blow the White House up.
Oh,
okay?
Stop it. Great. Now they're going to come knocking on your door.
Exactly. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. For those who are listening, clearly he's joking. You know.
That's how I feel sometimes.
Jesus.
It gets frustrating when you see the things that are going on in D.C. It really gets frustrating. You know, to see that this country is a laughing stock of the world. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the basic laughing stock of the world, and that's what it is.
Yeah,
you know, they look at America as being one of the foolish. They look at us as being unintelligent because we elected a fool. Well, they did elected a fool to the White House.
Yep.
I bet he can't spell pencil. If you ask him.
Well, like I said, my preference would be that
either.
All of them.
Betty can't spell I either, and I'm not talking about the I.
He probably say I. So we are laughing stock. It's going to take it's going to take once he's out of office. It'll probably take 10, 15, 20 years for us to gain our standing in the world.
Yeah,
it'll be too late then because Russia and China would have been established themselves as world leaders. So.
All right, y'all done?
Yeah.
This was a very spirited conversation, and I appreciate it.
You got me to cuss.
And I hope Derek Terry is feeling better by next week. He's got the cooties. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really hoping that you guys enjoyed tonight's show here on Real World News TV with Derek Terry, with Reggie Kearney and Miss Chair Ann Tappan and me. I'm Tony Breedlove from Hot Topics Talk Radio. Make sure that you come on back here every Tuesday night. The show begins at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 on Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. Make sure that you follow Real World News TV right here on Facebook under Real World News TV. Check out our website and all the past shows by going to hottopicstalkradio.com or find us on YouTube under Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. So we're going to get out of here. But before I do that, come on back tomorrow night. I'm getting tired. Come back tomorrow night with me, Yvonne Baker, and Chris will be sitting out tomorrow night. He's got some other things he's got to handle. So me and Yvonne, we're actually going to be talking about something I think that is very important. it's the don't ask, don't tell policy. But tomorrow night, we're talking about don't ask, don't tell, and the shutout of transgender, not just in the military, but also in just everyday life. So come on back to see us tomorrow night. Me and Yvonne Baker, Hot Topics Talk Radio, starting at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Central, and 11 o'clock on the East Coast, right here on Facebook. So until then, we will see you next week on Tuesday with Reggie Kearney, Cherry Ann Tappan, that lady right there, and that guy right there. And Derek will be back with us next week. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. If I don't see you tomorrow night, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you then. Peace. Wakanda forever.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight and watching in. We really appreciate it, and we surely appreciate your continued support. We will see you back here next week on Tuesday night, right here on Facebook under Real World News TV. Thanks again for watching and tuning in. We really appreciate it. Have a good night, everybody. Real World News TV, we are clear.